Next on Martha, spring has finally arrived.
And so much is in bloom.
From strolling through historic Central Park,
Breathtaking cherry trees framed by the New York skyline,
to touring a classical Chinese garden,
this is certainly a hidden treasure,
to visiting this most unique vegetable garden grown on a roof. Take a tour of Martha's favorite gardens. Plus, don't miss this beautiful idea for your own yard.
A water garden like this is a good thing.
Next on Martha.
Show. It's another spring day here in New York, and so much is in bloom. Whether you live in New York or are here visiting, you must take a stroll through Central Park. You'll see the most vibrant tulips in Shakespeare Garden. And don't you love the rustic fence? And the crab alley in the conservatory garden is definitely one of the most spectacular showpieces in the park, with the blossoms blanketing the ground like pink snow. Azaleas and rhododendrons look great against the designs of the Victorian carved wall at the Bethesda Fountain. And on the west side of the reservoir, you'll discover a romantic stand of breathtaking Kwanzan cherry trees. The park really does look like an impressionistic painting framed by the New York skyline. Well, today we've selected some of our favorite tape pieces from past shows featuring some of our favorite gardens. And we'll take you to a tropical botanic garden in Florida filled with an outstanding collection of plants. My friend Nancy Heckler's garden along the Hood Canal in the state of Washington, and to a unique rooftop vegetable garden right here in New York City grown by Eli Zabar. But the first garden we're going to visit takes us to Dr. Sun Yat-sen Chinese Garden in Vancouver, Canada. This classical Chinese garden is based on the harmony of four main elements: rock, water, plants, and architecture. Please take a look. Vancouver, British Columbia is approximately 30% Asian. And I'm standing in the first classical Chinese garden ever constructed outside of mainland China. It was built here in 1985 in honor of Dr. Sun Yat-sen, who is the father of modern China. Kathy Gibler is the president of this garden. Kathy, I'm so glad to be here. This is certainly a hidden treasure of Vancouver.
Thank you. We're delighted that you could come.
Well, it's a beautiful place, and I understand that it was built entirely by Chinese craftsmen. How long did it actually take to create?
It took about a year of work here, but they actually did a lot of pre-work in Suzhou. They had over 900 crates that they brought here. Amazing. With all the materials. The whole garden was constructed using the same tools that they would have used in the Ming Dynasty, so there was no electric anything.
Now, who planted all the gardens?
The people from Suzhou actually brought people to do that. They had thought to have plants come from China because this is an authentic Ming Dynasty style garden.
There are everywhere beautiful plants. These are they look like bonsai to me, but they're not called bonsai in China.
No.
This is an older art form.
It does predate bonsai, and it's called penjing.
Penjing.
And pen is the pot or the tray that it's in, and jing means landscape. I should say that these gardens in the Ming Dynasty were actually people's homes.
Now, there is a scholar's room here in the garden.
Yes, there is.
Now, is that part of a typical Chinese garden house?
Yes. This garden is made to have qi, the life force, stay in it, to circulate. It also, in the Ming Dynasty, they believed in evil spirits. And there are things in this garden to keep them away.
Like what?
One of them is that zigzaggy corridor, because it was believed that the evil spirits can only travel in straight lines. You actually have the buildings around the outside, and the garden is in the middle. So you could walk all the way around it under a roof.
Now, the tile roofs themselves are so beautiful. They're classical Chinese tiles.
Yes, they are. Yes.
They were made especially for this garden?
Yes. The imperial kilns were opened up again to make these tiles. It had actually, because these gardens hadn't been built for quite a while in China, they'd been closed.
Now, there's a tremendous amount of variety in the architecture of this garden. The building shapes are both filigree and solid.
Yes.
There's hard stone and soft wood.
It's a balance and a blend of many different forces, and there are things at work in this garden. One of them is certainly the force of yin-yang. It's the opposite that together make a whole.
Where do those beautiful shapely rocks full of holes and convolutions come from?
They all come from Lake Tai, which is near Suzhou. These rocks actually represent a living life force, which is why they like them so convoluted, as though they're in the midst of changing shape.
There's so many beautiful round moon gates.
Yes.
And there are these amazing stone mosaic pavements that are so beautiful. Now, were these done in place right here?
Yes, they found them in rivers, and they choose them by color and by shape. Each one of these shapes actually has a meaning. There's a white shape here. It's a white flower, and the white part are broken cups and bowls, and it's to remind us that nothing should be wasted.
How nice. So many books are being devoted to the subject of feng shui. How important was that in the creation of this garden?
It was taken into consideration from the beginning to the end. This has actually almost perfect feng shui.
Really?
What that does for this garden is allow the atmosphere, but it also keeps the qi, which is the good life force, flowing throughout.
Visiting Dr. Sun Yat-sen Chinese garden was a breathtaking and magical experience. Up next, we're going to visit Florida's Fairchild Tropical Botanic Garden, which is filled with an extensive collection of rare tropical plants. We'll be right back.
Coming up later, Martha's friend Nancy Heckler shows how she transformed her property into a dream garden. All new Martha, Martha's trainer is yours.
With your training tips for spring.
Then it looks like a precious heirloom.
I made it yesterday.
How you too can make this adorable pin. Plus, Ugly Betty's Christopher Gorham is here.
And he's asked me to help him in the kitchen.
With a chicken recipe that will help you with dinner tonight. But first,
The Met is famous as being the home of the greatest voices.
your exclusive tour of the Metropolitan Opera. Next, all new Martha.
Welcome back. Well, look at all these beautiful tropical plant leaves and fruits. In front of me is a vast array of beautiful, beautiful things that came from the Fairchild Tropical Botanic Garden in Miami, Florida. When you're down in Miami, you have to go and see this wonderful garden. It plays an important part in preserving the biodiversity of the tropical environment. And I got a chance to tour through these lovely grounds and experience over 600 different species of palms, for example. And in front of me, we have the jade plant, one of the only true turquoise blue blooms. I love this. We have tropical fruits, papaya, cacao beans. Look at this fantastic fruit. And some sapodilla. And these are the sapodillas and canistels. I love those. And bromeliads of all sorts. The Fairchild Garden has an amazing array of bromeliads, which are all from the pineapple family. So take a look at the palms. They are extraordinary. As I walked through the gardens, I was delighted to explore this ideal environment for growing and preserving the world's endangered palms. Julia Cornegay has been the director here at the Fairchild Tropical Gardens. Well, Julia, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about the history of this really beautiful garden. David Fairchild, who was he?
Well, David Fairchild was the chief of the Plant Introduction Division of the U.S. government at the turn of the century, and a prominent botanist, well known throughout the world, and he loved to travel around the world collecting plants. And so he established a home here in Miami to bring in tropical plants for introduction to the U.S.
And this 83 acres was his own home?
No, this wasn't. This was actually property owned by Colonel Robert Montgomery, a wealthy businessman from New York. And he was a good friend of David Fairchild, and they both had a passion for palms. And together they started this garden.
Oh, so they collected the specimens and planted them here?
Yes, yes.
And nurtured them and are preserving very many of the endangered species.
That's right. We have more endangered species of palms here than all other botanical gardens combined.
But Dr. Fairchild, did he envision this as a public garden when he was planting it with the Colonel?
Well, at that time, it was more like a garden club. This is 60 years ago, and Miami was the home of many wealthy individuals that came in the winter to enjoy the tropical climate. And so it was kind of like their garden. Only more recently has the garden become more public in its mission and outlook.
Almost every part of the palm has a use for food, clothes, or furniture.
Dried palm leaves are used to make rope, brooms, carpets, fishing nets, and even dinnerware. This versatile tree has been important to cultures around the world for thousands of years. In biblical times, Christians used palm leaves to ward off evil spirits. Palms are still received by Christians on Palm Sunday to commemorate the waving of the palms in celebration as Jesus journeyed to Jerusalem. As early as 1370 BC, Egyptians celebrated the coconut palm by carving its image into the walls of the temple at Karnak. Today, the coconut is the most recognized palm tree. It plays a crucial role in the diets of native people throughout the world. Chuck Hubuck is passionate about palms. This, believe it or not, is a seed, the largest seed in the plant kingdom.
This is the coco de mer, or double coconut. It's native to the Seychelles Islands in the Indian Ocean. Its scientific name is Lodoicea maldivica. Maldivica because the first discoverers of this thought it was from the Maldive Islands. They discovered these empty seeds floating on the ocean and ascribed all sorts of mythical properties to them. This is a raffia seed. It's quite scaly, and this belongs to a subfamily of the palm family called the calamoids. And the calamoids all have these scaly seeds that are fairly decorative. The waxes are another interesting feature of palms. And we have another palm that's very well known for its wax, the carnauba wax palm from Brazil. And carnauba wax has found its way into commerce as a furniture polish, as a car polish, and also in cosmetics and tablets that we ingest. It has a very nice attribute in that its melting temperature is about our body temperature. So there are products like M&Ms that have carnauba wax coatings. If you hold your hand open and have M&Ms in it, the wax won't melt. When you put it into your mouth, the body temperature is a little bit higher there. It's completely surrounded by the heat, and the M&Ms melt very quickly, releasing the chocolate.
Palms always remind me of vacations in magical places. There's nothing more beautiful than a palm grove with a repetition of form and species throughout the landscape. The varying heights also create a dramatic visual.
Here in South Florida, we have the same landscape elements that people in the north have. We have the shrubs and the trees, but the palms add a new element that is a wonderful element, I think. And maybe one of the best attributes of palms is that they can be grown in very narrow spaces. So those little spaces alongside our houses where there isn't enough room to grow a big tree, we can fit palms in there. A lot of people ask me my favorite palm. That's a very hard question for me because there are so many wonderful palms. Pauline Sullivan, who's one of the members of the Palm Society, a very active member, once said that her favorite palm was the one in front of her. And I think that's the answer that I like best. It's the one that I'm with that I like the best.
The Fairchild Tropical Botanic Garden is visited by over 450,000 people a year, and it offers a variety of programs in environmental education, in conservation, and in horticulture. It's a fantastic place to enjoy the beauty and lushness of the tropical world. And when you're there, please go and visit. We'll be right back.
Still ahead, you'll learn how Eli Zabar turned his New York City rooftop into a lush vegetable garden.
For my friend Nancy Heckler, her dream garden all started with an ad in a local paper. Its headline read, "Chance of a Lifetime," and featured 2.3 acres of land along the Hood Canal in the northwestern region of Washington state. Soon after she purchased the property, Nancy, an avid gardener, set out to transform it into her own enchanted haven. Take a look. Finding a home on a magnificent piece of land really did give Nancy and her husband Terry a chance of a lifetime.
The property was the perfect combination of what my husband and I had always wanted. He always wanted a place on the water with a sweeping view, and I always wanted a little farm. When we first looked at the house, we knew it needed quite a bit of work. You know, there was no upstairs, and so we thought, well, we'll just do a little bit. We'll just put some dormers up in the attic, and we'll be done with it. Well, of course, that turned into a whole second floor. So we basically kind of redid the whole thing, but we tried to maintain the same flavor as what it had before.
The barn, however, was almost a lost cause.
When the builder first came over to look at the barn, he said, oh, this should work, this should work. And he opens the door and he walks in and he falls through the floor because there had been such a big hole in the roof for so many years. It had rotted the floor away, and so really it was kind of a big pile of lumber.
Today, the barn's original integrity has been restored. Although Nancy had her own vision for the landscaping, she never shied away from getting advice.
I was able to get the advice of a couple of good landscape people who would come out and talk to me. They don't have to go and do a whole design or draw it out or all that, but just have them come out, get input from people, and just kind of get a feel for where your path is. You know, where is the path to the house? You know, what feels natural?
What felt natural to Nancy was to remove the existing path, one that looked more like a sidewalk. She replaced it with a brick pathway that sits close to the house. Although the house is in a secluded setting, the first thing Nancy wanted to do was to create even more privacy. Today, what was once a stark pathway is now a lush and private garden walk, with lilies providing a splash of color near the house. But Nancy does not rely only on flowering plants.
I'm really more into foliage than flowers per se. I love the color of the flowers, but they're short-lived, and foliage is really what remains. So I'm very much into texture and big leaves and everything that makes a garden feel like you want to touch it.
Nancy loves plants with a tropical feel.
Certain bananas are hardy here, and we don't really get bananas per se, but the leaves are just beautiful. The tetrapanax, which is a wonderful giant-leaved plant. The tree fern, which is, to me, very tropical looking. I think that we all get our inspirations for designing gardens from many different sources. I mean, it all comes from somewhere, either a book or a snapshot. And everything that you see, you should collect and take pictures of and make a scrapbook of everything that kind of gets you excited.
Frequently, though, inspiration takes time. After years of not knowing what to do with the front door, inspiration finally came on a trip to Europe.
We were in southern France, staying at this little hotel, and we walked in the back, and there was this incredible arbor. So we took all kinds of pictures of how it all went together, and we came back and we did it, and it was perfect. So sometimes those ideas can't be forced. They just have to come.
Over time, Nancy's garden grew, and she began creating spaces away from the house. Eventually, the garden got so big, she started naming areas. Her husband's design company created this map of the property. Nancy has left nothing untouched, including this area she calls the North Woodland. Inside this little forest, paths dotted with ferns and other shade-loving plants create a beautiful walk through the woods. Nancy loves using containers. In fact, she has more than 200 in the garden. Pots are found throughout the property and give plants an architectural lift. This property boasts some stunning trees, including this stand of tall, swaying poplars.
We planted a row of poplars, mostly for nostalgia. My husband and I are both from out east, and we both remember poplars, and so it was just something we wanted, and we wanted to see them move in the wind.
Another magnificent tree is this huge madrona.
Every year in August, its bark peels off, and it's the most beautiful, deep red color, and underneath is this kind of creamy lime color. It's just the most amazing thing.
Coming around the corner to see this incredible Douglas fir, visitors sometimes do a double take when they see Nancy's whimsical egg nest. It's touches like these and Nancy's unique approach to the land that make her garden unlike any other.
I don't think I ever really knew how I wanted it to be. I just wanted it to be a place where you could walk around and get lost, and I think that it's done that for me. It's the setting, really, that makes it so special. It's the ever-changing sky and the mountains, and every day is different. And so that, combined with the garden, is what makes Oyster Point so special.
I've had the opportunity to visit Nancy's property a couple of times, and it is truly stunning. We're now fortunate to have Nancy as one of our contributing editors at Living Magazine, and she's also writing a book about the decorative vegetable garden that she built at Oyster Point Garden. I'm sure it'll be filled with many great ideas. We'll be right back.
Later, we'll visit a place that creates a naturally tranquil environment, Wave Hills Water Garden.
Welcome back to our show. Now it's time for Ask Martha, where the audience gets a chance to ask me questions. And today's questions, hopefully, are all about gardening. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Oh, lots of questions.
Hi, I'm Joyce from New York. I was wondering if there was a way to prolong the life of hydrangeas once you cut them and bring them into the house.
Do you want to dry them?
I'd like for them to stay alive.
Oh, Not really. Once they they have a lifespan as a cut flower, so the blossoms will start to fall off. And if you want to dry them, you just put them in about, a quarter of an inch of water and let them stay in that water in a container, and they will ultimately just dry as flowers on the stem. But as cut flowers, if you keep them in water, the blossoms will just fall, and actually they may root, and then you can plant them out in your garden and have some more hydrangea bushes.
Thank you.
Hi, Martha. I'm Christina from Miami, Florida, and I'd like to know, how often do you water your garden and during what time of day?
Oh, well, it depends on when it needs water. We test every garden every single day just with our fingers to see how dry it is. And if the plants look stressed or a little bit wrinkled or curled, they get water. And I never water the garden at high noon. Usually early morning is best. Later afternoon is okay, but not during the night when actual mildew may occur, and not at high noon when a lot of damage can be done to the plants.
Thank you.
Hi, Martha. I'm David Bjork from Georgetown, Massachusetts.
How do you do?
I have a question. We're trying to build a privacy border alongside our property with our neighbor. But the problem is we have a lot of tall oak trees in the area, so I was wondering if you could recommend some sort of bushes or plants that grow well in the shade.
Oh, there are lots of bushes and plants that do grow in the shade, will tolerate shade. You can use boxwood, you could use holly, you could use, and do you want to make it an impenetrable border so that you can't go from one property to another?
Yes.
Yeah, so holly is good, prickly leaves, nobody's going to want to walk through it. And you can start with, shrubs that are about 4 feet tall. Is it a long border?
Yeah, it is, about 20 feet.
Yeah, 20 is not so bad because you can get decent-sized plants and really make it work. Also, ask your local nursery what grows best in shady areas, and just take that into consideration when you do the planting. But make it wide enough too, so that and stagger the plants. Zigzag them down the borders so that both properties have some plants on it. Are you friendly with your neighbors?
For now, yeah.
Oh. Well, good fences make good neighbors. You know that old adage. And hopefully it'll be okay. Do you want to put up any wire in between in between?
No, we want to just keep it all natural.
Oh, that's good. So you can do that. And but look at the nursery. You might find a rhododendron or a laurel that will tolerate shade. That would also look native and appropriate in that woodland.
Thank you.
Hi, Martha.
Hi.
My name's Ashley, and I'm from Ottawa, Canada. And my question is, I would love to grow a rose garden, but I'm not quite sure where to start, so I was hoping you could give me a few tips.
A rose garden?
Yes.
Oh, do you have a good sunny area?
I do have a good sunny area, but being Ottawa, Canada, it's fairly cold.
Yeah, no, but a lot of the greatest roses grow up there. And I think that you can find, if you, there's a company in Canada called Pickering, which deals in roses. And you can consult with them about what will grow in your particular zone. Do you know what zone you were in?
No, I'm not quite sure.
Okay, so you have to find out your planting zone, and if you're within a zone that that roses will tolerate, then you can grow all kinds of beautiful things. And I wouldn't hesitate to try. And there's some roses are more susceptible and more tender than others to cold temperatures, but I'm sure that you can find some that will last very nicely.
Thank you.
Good luck. One more. Hi.
Hi, Martha. I'm Stephanie from McCall, Michigan. I have a 40-year-old palm tree, and it looks that age. I mean, it's not doing a whole lot. It sends out shoots, but it's mostly at the top, and it's not full. And so I'm wondering what
Do you know what kind of palm it is?
No, it was actually given to my mother when my older sister was born.
Oh, really?
And she gave it to me.
Does it have fan-shaped leaves?
It does.
Well, it might be a fan palm. It might be a, there are other kinds of, is it grayish or greenish?
Green.
Green. I don't know. Without seeing it, I can't tell you what it is. But you can look online under palms and try to identify it first of all, and then ask your local plants people what you should be feeding it.
Okay.
And have you changed the soil in the pot?
I do. I try to do that every couple years, and I even put it in a larger pot because it's a tall
yeah, how tall is it?
Oh, it's probably about 6 feet.
Oh, so it's not too big.
No, well, yeah. For a house plant, it's big, but it droops. So we're constantly having to try to prop it up near the wall. It just seems tired, but I would imagine it
Do you feed it all the time?
No. When I change the soil, I try to get a good indoor.
I think you should be feeding it like every 2 weeks or so. Just a little bit of feed, water-soluble feed in its water. And have you eaten in the last 2 years?
Have I eaten? Yes.
That's what I always tell everybody who works with me and plants. Did you eat? Yeah. Well, has your plant eaten? Did you have a drink of water today?
I water it. I water it all the time.
But water just will ultimately just deplete any nutrients that are in the soil. So it's real important to feed indoor plants. That's their only way to get food. And of course, you'd be very tired after 2 years having no food, my dear.
Yeah.
And you'd be emaciated and droopy, too.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Martha.
Okay. Another question.
How are you? I'm Jillian from Toronto. I'm just wondering, my mother is the gardener of our family. I always try to wow her with my gifts on her birthday, which is usually something for perennial beds. And I'm just wondering if you have any recommendations for something that's new and unusual for this year.
Oh, so she has perennials.
Yeah, she has a bit of everything, but this is sort of where I focus my efforts.
There are so many beautiful plants. I don't know what she's growing, but does she grow delphinium in her border?
She does, yes.
Yeah, and foxgloves.
Foxglove, lamb's ear.
Yeah. Well, you could get her something a little bit more long-lived, like a fabulous tree peony, which would thrive in a perennial border.
Yes.
It's expensive. They're generally, I think, average cost of a good tree peony is about $50 or more. But that's a beautiful gift. And you could, I have developed such a collection of tree peonies over the years that I treasure. So that would be a nice thing. Try a tree peony.
I will. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Great questions. We always have such an intelligent audience here at the Martha Show. We'll be right back. We all love farm-fresh vegetables like these. There's nothing like eating something that has been grown right in your own backyard. Living in an urban city can be very challenging and a difficult place to grow vegetables, but one native New Yorker, Eli Zabar, figured out how to successfully grow vegetables on a roof. Take a look at this. Most people who live in urban areas crave a small plot of earth to plant and garden. New York has the lowest ratio of any American city, 1.8 acres of parkland per 1,000 residents. But the lack of tillable soil didn't stop Eli Zabar. He simply converted his 10,000 square foot rooftop into gardening space.
Right now, we are growing very successfully tomatoes and lettuces. I sell both of those in my market. We use them in the restaurants. We have all the tomato dishes in the restaurant, all the lettuces, all the salads in the restaurant, all are my greens.
Eli uses recycled air from the ovens that produce his bread and pastries to heat his greenhouses.
The flue pipes from the ovens come up through the roof. We route them through the beds of soil. They just give off a certain amount of warmth to the soil. Then we took some other heat pipes and just routed them out through the greenhouse overhead and into the atmosphere. We don't have absolute control over it, but it never gets too hot nor too cold.
The tomato greenhouse, which is as dense as a jungle, houses over 800 tomato plants. He started all this with the hope of producing a good off-season tomato.
I always wanted to have a good tomato in the winter. I just love tomatoes, except after October, you just don't get any tomatoes here in the East until next July. With these tomatoes, we planted the seeds in July, we planted the plants in September, and all these that you see are now since September. Their roots have just gone 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 feet. So these are all 9, 12 months old.
Eli brings in bees to pollinate his tomatoes,
and believes in using organic methods of growing wherever possible.
I want you to notice that we grow these in real soil. These are not hydroponic tomatoes. They're not grown in water or water medium. These are grown in soil because I believe that the soil will give us the flavor. And when we fertilize, we put in manure and so on. That is really, in the end, where the flavor of the tomato comes from. These tomatoes grow up these strings, and then when they get to the top of the string and we can't get them anymore, we lower them down and we let them climb up Jack and the Beanstalk fashion again.
The greenhouse produces both production tomatoes as well as heirloom varieties.
Heirloom varieties are the old-fashioned tomatoes. Those are the tomatoes that, you know, you grew up on as a kid eating tomatoes when a tomato tasted like a tomato. Before the genetic people got a hold of it. The names of these heirloom tomatoes are so wonderful. Anna Russian Brandywine is probably the most popular of the heirloom varieties. It has that kind of pinkish hue. Then there's the Old German, which is a bicolored variety. One of the more interesting ones we have here is persimmons.
When you step into the lettuce greenhouse, checkered with beds of baby greens, it's really hard to imagine that this small farm is a rooftop in the middle of Manhattan.
We have 13 varieties of lettuces. And how did I choose them? Out of a catalog, we grew a little sample, decided we liked the way it tasted, and went with it. But one of the things that I've done here is we've grown them like you do grass on your lawn, and it's like a bed. And what we do is we mow it down, and then it makes it kind of easy to harvest, and we don't let it get very big. And by keeping them small, they don't get bitter. They get nice and sweet and buttery. We take a scissors and we go across and just keep cutting them. And then something like Mizuna grows back maybe 3 times. We dig it in and we reseed it and we let it grow. And it takes about 2.5 weeks for it to start to really come back where we can where we can have another harvest. Over here we have arugula. And as you can see, it's very, very small. I mean, these leaves are tiny. And they don't have the bitterness that arugula has. They have a little mustardy, they have a little slightly mustardy taste to them.
Eli also grows tatsoi, which is an open-hearted oriental mustard, bib, lettuce with soft green leaves and a delicate flavor, red romaine, and much more.
These greenhouses are among the things that have given me the most pleasure in my work.
If you get a chance and you're in New York City, stop by and enjoy Eli's delicious fresh produce at Eli's Manhattan, Eli's Vinegar Factory, and at his restaurant, Eat. We'll be right back. The relaxing atmosphere created by floating water lilies and don't live close enough to a body of water to enjoy them, then building your very own water garden in your backyard can create this feeling. Take a look at what we found when we visited the water garden at Wave Hill in the Bronx, right here in New York City.
Wave Hill is a public garden and cultural center in New York City, overlooking the Hudson River. Tucked away among the many gardens on this former 19th century estate is a sunlit pool filled with more than 30 varieties of tropical and native plants. This garden is at its peak from late summer through the fall, when water lilies and other flowering plants are in full bloom.
A water feature in the garden really does just provide a place of rest, a little bit of solitude. I know when I'm working in this particular area, it just does really create a nice calming effect for me.
Timothy Tillman recommends some of his favorite plants for the beginning aquatic gardener.
One of the more interesting water lilies we use here at Wave Hill is the tropical nymphaea called Director Moore. Really has one of the deepest purples with these bright yellow centers. And as a filler, a lot of the times we use pistia, or the water lettuce, which makes a great plant to really give a lot of coverage, a lot of color. This is great if you're just starting a water garden. It takes no trouble, no effort to grow. It's just a matter of editing it out whenever it propagates so much that it's choking the water garden.
Another beautiful staple of the water garden is the lotus. In autumn, the huge blue-green leaves change to yellow, adding a touch of seasonal color.
A lot of people think of these as a tropical or an exotic plant. They do happen to be native to the States. You can find them in low-lying ponds, and they grow very well in the water garden. Coming back year after year, They provide a 4 to 6 inch, very large flower, very exotic, and you're left with a great seed pod by the end of the year in fall.
Maintaining an aquatic garden is not unlike caring for a more traditional garden of annuals.
The medium we use for all these plants is a typical garden soil, and all these plants are actually just in a nursery container for mobility and for care, and just to keep the plants isolated. To keep the soil in the pot and to add a little bit more stability to the pot, we simply top dress with a 1/2 inch to 1 inch of gravel.
During the growing season, the plants are fed bi-weekly with a soluble fertilizer pressed into solid pellets.
They just need to go in 3 inches from the crown or the base of the plant and about 1 inch into the soil. I like to just dibble a hole with a piece of bamboo and simply insert the fertilizer that way, and then make sure it gets covered back up so it doesn't just escape back into the surrounding water.
Once the basic ingredients are in place, the most important aspect to caring for a water garden is consistent grooming. Timothy recommends tending the pool on a daily basis for practical as well as aesthetic reasons. Removing debris promptly discourages the growth of algae, which thrives in a full sun, low oxygen environment. Because this 150-year-old water garden is stagnant, without waterfalls or artificial aeration, Timothy has found other ways to keep the pond algae-free.
A few of the things I've done is to add a black dye to the pool, which provides shade, which counteracts the effect of the sun that the plants need, but really helps reduce the algae. In addition, we've used a lot of oxygenating plants in the water.
The benefits of free-floating underwater plants like Elodia accentuate their qualities throughout the pool. The added oxygen supports fish, which eat mosquito larvae that would otherwise thrive in still waters. When the weather turns cold, some tropical plants should be taken indoors and watered on a daily basis. Other plants can be left in the water garden.
The hardy plants are generally okay as long as they stay below the freeze line. The fact that all these plants are in pots means you could drop them down to the 2.5 foot level that this pool is at and make sure they stay below the freeze line.
Creating a water garden can be a simple and enjoyable way to increase your gardening repertoire and add a welcome note of serenity to your surroundings.
You can water garden on any level, whether it be a small container on your terrace or a larger pool like this. And then it's really a bit of trial and error and experimenting with plants that do prefer aquatic conditions. There's a lot of imagination that can go into the garden and a lot of fun that can be had in water gardening.
Not only will your water garden enhance your landscape, but you'll soon notice that new wildlife will be attracted to it. You'll be delighted by the number of birds and dragonflies, butterflies and frogs stopping by for a visit. We'll be back in a moment with a good thing. If you don't have a public place to enjoy a serene water garden like we just saw at Wave Hill, here's a good thing. You can create your own small water garden for your home or for your yard. I love the water gardens that I have in Bedford. They're really happy growing in a long iron trough. Well, we have 2 of them, one on side of each side of a hallway. And look how beautiful they look. These iron troughs, I think, really are good for the water plants. Something about the combination of iron and water. They're beautiful, they're easy to care for, and the water may make them appear difficult and unwieldy, but they're not. I'm going to show you how to put one together in a pot. Now, if you find a pretty pot that you really like for your house, and it has a hole in the bottom, just use a cork, hammer it in carefully, but make sure it's secure so that no water will leak out of the pot. And I always put my water gardens, if they're in pots like this, in a tray with some sides, just in case of a leak. You won't want that leaking all over your living room floor. And start with some pebbles. We have some river rock, and I'm going to put these in the bottom of the pot. Nice and noisy. Now you can start collecting rocks, or you can buy these beautiful polished stones. They're very pretty. And because what we're going to do is use plants that love to live in water, and what we're doing is raising them up to just below the level, just below the rim of this beautiful pot. So I need a little bit more space in here. I think that'll do. Now, the plants that you can use that are commonly available, this beautiful umbrella papyrus. This will grow up to 10 feet tall, and you can keep trimming it down. It's beautiful when it opens like this. Then it flares out, and then it ultimately gets to look just like that. These are very pretty, and if you're going to use a papyrus, I would use that maybe in the center of a round container like this. Then you can use something called alocasia, and they come in different colors, variegated, a very dark purple, almost black, and a green. And this too can be fitted right here in the pot. A green one is pretty. And water gardens, you should have a lot of stuff in a water garden. I think the more, the better. And then, this will look good. Then we have something that's called water hyacinth. This has these bulbous air pockets that causes the hyacinth to just float on top of the surface. We're going to fill this with water. And don't forget, water gardens need food just like all gardens. And you will feed about maybe a quarter of a teaspoon of food in a garden this size every week or so. Now, these are floating. Notice what's happening? And you don't want to see these unsightly pots. So what we're going to do, after we get our water hyacinths in here in the corners, we are going to put more of these beautiful rocks right on top of our pots. So you'll be looking down at these stones, and they look pretty. I don't want my papyrus to go floating down the river here. But there, that looks good. And here's another beautiful water hyacinth. These get a very pretty lavender flower on them. In some rivers, they become pests. They're very prolific, and they sometimes clog up ponds and rivers, and kayakers and canoers don't like them, but I love them in a water garden. And here, this one can fit right here. And there, with very little effort and just a little imagination, you can have a water garden that will look very, very beautiful for a long time. A water garden like this is a good thing.
Rebate money to stimulate the economy on the way. Who gets it first?
The whole house shook like crazy. That's what woke me up at 5 o'clock.
A rude awakening, to say the least. What police say this car did before it took out a power pole and nearly hit a house. Wildfire season already in California. Thousands evacuate, flames at night, smoke by day.